Hey everyone, Justin Holland here with the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. We're so glad that you could join us today. Hopefully, you're listening to us over the radio waves here on KTSA 550, or you're actually watching the show or a clip of the show online on our YouTube channel. Make sure you go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/at Mad Insurance Show, and like and follow us there. We're trying to build up our presence, our online presence with the show and just to provide value on everything insurance. Nothing's off limits on what we talk about on the show, and I'm going to detail some articles, some updates, some industry news that you might need to consider while you're listening to us today. But again, it's the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. I'm your host, Justin Holland, and we've got a few agencies here in town. It's called Texas State Insurance Services, where we focus on individual health insurance, Medicare plans for seniors, employee benefits for small and large businesses. And then we've got Palmetto Life Group, where we handle basically life insurance, long term care planning, social security analysis, and we've added auto, home, and commercial lines of coverage as well. So we can help you basically shop and keep everything honest on your renewals or your pending or future insurance renewal coming up as well. So if you need any help or have questions regarding health insurance, you can reach us at 210-880-5316 or visit us online at txstateinsurance.com. For the life insurance, auto, home products, social security analysis, you're going to reach out to Palmetto Life Group, and that's 877-357-5316, or visit us again on palmettolifegroup.com. We've got contact forms on all the websites, so we try to make it as convenient and easy to reach us and contact us when you can. But there's a lot going on in our industry, and specifically, it's like almost every show, I need to visit and talk about the news articles and breaking news in some cases regarding the health insurance industry. And I'm going to dive in to some stuff that I picked up over the past few days that I wanted to make sure that our audience and our listeners are in tune with. We'll also talk about products that I think you need to consider. But this is more of an informative show, and I want to make sure that we're basically talking about real life scenarios, what's going on in the industry. And without further ado, we'll dive into some of the articles that I came across. One thing that I wanted to kick off when I was looking up recent news and articles that were popping up online was something that came in from KXAN out of Austin. And they had an article that hit, looks like on March 26th, just got yesterday actually. And health insurance jargon can be frustrating and confusing. How to navigate it. Hey, I'm in the insurance business, and sometimes the jargon and the terminology gets basically confused. I'll give you one quick example, and I'm going to dive into the article here. But I had a client that's helping out one of their employees that's coming off of a group health insurance plan, and we're going to be shopping individual coverage. More than likely, it's going to need to be for the Affordable Care Act coverage because he's going to have a qualifying event. But there's some pre-existing conditions there, so health coverage isn't going to be an option. We really got to focus on an Affordable Care Act plan to take a look at that. Well, in the market that he's in or the area, it's typically going to be an HMO or an EPO network. Not only that, we got to make sure that his doctors, his primary care doctors and his specialists are in network. And what I had to do is I had to send him an email early this morning, actually, and say, hey, listen, make sure that the employee goes to his doctors, calls them or stops by and checks to see if they accept Affordable Care Act, Marketplace, Obamacare, individual health insurance on the marketplace. There's all these terminologies that have gotten slung around over the years, and you need to make sure you ask these doctors' offices all of that. Give them all the terminology out there because they might be thinking one thing, and you're probably asking or requesting another. So that's just a little blurb I wanted to throw in there as far as jargon terminology. Again, there's more than just that, but that's a quick recent example from this morning. So the conversation they create here on this article, Affordable Care Act subsidies expired at the end of 2025. Americans have undoubtedly encountering a great deal of confusing information surrounding healthcare costs and insurance plans, from five-figure deductibles to premiums higher than people's mortgages. We've had premiums higher than people's mortgages for a few years now. Costs are rising across the board. We all know that. I've been arguing that every single show, it seems like, with the most difficult decisions around healthcare plan enrollment. No one can know exactly where their health care needs will be in any given year, so people are forced to hedge their bets in choosing plans. And sometimes when they don't choose a plan, they just go without coverage or health insurance, which is the case as well. But in this article, they're like, hey, listen, let's address some of the frequently encountered health insurance terms. And I thought that would be good to go over here on the show to kick things off a little bit. First of these health insurance is the premium. This is the amount you pay each month for having health insurance coverage, whether you use any services or not. So you're going to have a monthly premium. You might have a monthly premium that's deducted from your payroll through your employer sponsored plan, or maybe you have a direct insurance enrollment on the marketplace, and that's coming out directly from the insurance carrier. But that is going to be your health insurance premium. I'm glad they're discussing that. Much harder to predict is how much each medical bill you will have to pay yourself, known as the out of pocket costs. So you're going to have costs that you're going to have to take care of yourself in some cases. And that's going to relate to the deductible and the out of pocket cost. These are sometimes referred to as patient cost sharing or copays. A copay is typically a set number that you're going to pay for a doctor visit. Let's call it $30 or $40 for a primary care. In some cases, when you're on Medicare, that could be zero. A specialist visit is going to be, 50, 65, sometimes $100 depending on the plan that you're on. So those copays can vary. Some plans actually have copays where there's no deductible to meet, and you have a copay on basically everything. So what that means is, let's say you go in for an outpatient procedure. Okay, there could be a copay linked to that, for $450, $1,000, depending on the plan. You could have copays for outpatient, inpatient procedures that could come up that you need. That's going to be detailed in the benefits of the plan. Um, the copays or the out-of-pocket costs typically come from meeting your deductible, the co-insurance after you meet the deductible. So that's your cost, so to speak, on after you've hit an amount, and then the insurance company is going to help you bridge that gap for a little while until you max out on a catastrophic limit. Once you hit your catastrophic limit, you're done. I had a client that I helped out yesterday afternoon, actually, and he's got some medical stuff going on, and he knows he's going to hit his deductible and his maximum very quickly. It was the plan we were looking at had a $7,800 deductible, and it had like a $9,500 catastrophic maximum. Because of the procedures and the treatment that he's getting, he's gonna hit that probably in the 1st month or 2nd month of his plan. So he knows, "Hey, I know I'm gonna have this exposure in the first couple months, and then, I'm just gonna be responsible for the premium." Granted, he's seeing doctors and specialists that are in network. So that's important to take care of as well. But that kind of gives you an idea of deductibles, co-insurance, maximum limits. The deductible, typically there's a deductible on most plans out there, but there are some that don't have a deductible to meet, and those can range from anywhere from $400 or $500 to $0 or into the thousands, just depending on the plan. If you need help looking at that, obviously you can reach out to us at Texas State Insurance Services. We'd love to help you, take a look at the plan. Something that I'm in the works of trying to do is create workshops, not just specific to insurance and what people need to consider or know about the insurance industry, as it relates to their health insurance, whether it be Medicare or individual health, but it's getting through billing statements. I'm going to go on a tangent on this. I think this is important. These are real life scenarios that I'm trying to bring up during the show. I had a longtime client. I say long time. We've probably helped her for about 3 or 4 years now. Some we've had for over a decade. or many we've had for over a decade. But she reached out and said, "Hey, Justin, I've been paying these bills for my medical expenses." She had some stuff going on last year, and she was on a Medicare medical supplement plan. Okay. She should only be responsible for a deductible. That's it. Okay. She should pay her premium, and then the Medicare supplement is going to pick up everything that A and B does not, except for just under $300, which is that deductible amount that she had access to. Well, she was getting bills and basically paying those. And I had to give her a hard time. It's like, listen, you remember on that plan, you don't pay anything. Okay. You'll get explanation of benefits. It's going to be very rare that you have to pay above and beyond that. I've got group clients that'll reach out and say, "Hey, I'm getting this explanation of benefits. They are wanting to bill me such and such amount. I don't know if I really owe that." Well, the explanation of benefits typically break down what your costs are, and if you're not getting those from your health insurance carrier, on treatment or doctor visits or getting prescriptions filled, you could be getting those online via email, or you could be getting those hard copy mail. But if you're not getting either, you need to reach out to your insurance carrier and say, "Hey, listen, I need to make sure you've got the correct address for me and that you've got the correct email address for me. So I'm getting my explanation of benefits." So let's keep on diving on explanation of benefits because it's important. And you need to take a look at those statements. Those are not bills. It basically breaks down, okay, here was your responsibility. Here is our responsibility. This is what we paid. This is what you might possibly owe. That's in general what the EOB is going to provide for you when you take a look at it. So, you want to be cognizant of that when you've got, a kiddo that has to get stitches or go to the doctor, or, you got a medical treatment that's coming up. Obviously, your exposure can increase for those, and you don't want to pay more than you have to. But back to my client that I was talking to a minute ago that had talking about a minute ago that had a Medicare medical supplement plan. You've got to make sure that you take a look at those EOBs. Okay. She was obviously paying bills that she probably didn't need to pay. And I'm going to try to help her recoup that. But I'm in the works of trying to see if we can do workshops and help people understand what the exposure they have, or their billing statements, and really analyze what they're getting in on their explanation of benefits. I think that's going to be important. If you think that we need to have a workshop or would like to join us on that, please give us a call and let us know. And we'd love to help you review that because, listen, we might not be the agent of record for you right now. You might be shopping that for your health insurance or personal lines of insurance. We'd love to have an opportunity to do that, but we can size that up for you at no cost. And that goes for, commercial accounts as well, employee benefits. If you're happy, great. But if you've been complacent and just saying, "Hey, I've just gone with the flow on these renewals, I really haven't taken stock and seen if there's other strategies that we can utilize," we're here to help you with that. We are in tune with everything insurance, and we're one of those rare situations to where we're local. 4 locations in San Antonio that we can meet you at, one in the Rio Grande Valley that we can meet you at, but we can help with a no nonsense assessment. We've got some great channel partners and industry experts that help us block and tackle that. So if you're a business owner and you're listening to this, or maybe you run the benefits for a business, let us know if we can stop by, take a look at everything, and give you a no nonsense analysis of the insurance products that you have in place. We promise not to waste your time. I think we'll do good work, and we're playing the long game. If it isn't the right time to become your agent of record at this time, maybe in a few years it'll be the opportunity that we're looking for to be able to earn your business and keep that business as well. I've got clients that I just spoke to, this week that we had for meetings and been calling on them for 6 years, and they were finally saying, "Hey, you know what, Justin? Okay, let's see what you got and see if you guys can engage our business and provide value to our business and our valued employees." So that's exciting. I don't think you'll find anybody that's going to work harder out there or really truly care than what we're trying to provide. And I think that's important to relay to our listeners and to the video watchers online. But if you need help with health insurance or employee benefits or Medicare, make sure you call us at 210-880-5316. That's the Texas State Insurance Services phone number. Or you can visit us online at txstateinsurance.com. You can also Google me. Google Justin Holland, Texas State Insurance Services. That's a good way to find us as well. If you're needing help more on the life insurance, long term care planning, Social Security analysis for your retirement, or the auto, home, and commercial lines, or even umbrella, that's where you're going to reach out to Palmetto Life Group at 877-357-5316 or palmettolifegroup.com. So I kind of teased you a little bit with this article and news that I found online regarding um, some of the jargon that's out there. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but if you've got a term or something that's come across your health insurance journey, let me know. Give us a call, and we'll be happy to try to navigate that for you. As I digress, let's keep on going on a few more articles and industry news. So this is a uh, news station that came up, WAX in Hartford, Connecticut. Health insurance clawbacks are increasing. Is AI to blame? I haven't even been able to look at this article. I'm looking at it right now with y'all, basically live on the radio. And excuse me, when we get a medical bill, did you know that you could later be charged much more for the same service? Health insurance companies can change how much they will pay months and sometimes years after you get care. This is news to me. I've not engaged this yet, but it looks like it's happening. That happened to Marcy DePrea in Norwalk. She still has the bill that says she owes $268 for cardiac testing at a local hospital back in December of 23. However, in May of 2025, 17 months later, she got a new explanation of benefits. I was just talking about that a minute ago, and or EOB, and from her insurance company, in the new statement says she didn't owe the 268, she owed 1684 for that which was basically 6 times the original price. So, this is a little concerning. This is why it's important to possibly keep those stacks of paper that you're getting on your explanation of benefits. I personally have a stack. You can access these explanation of benefits through your online health insurance portal as well. But it's very important to make sure you are in tune on what they're trying to bill you and what your exposure could be. Because a lot of times you could catch something and say, hey, should have been covered, or this doctor should have been in network. I was told otherwise, because you've got to dispute that. I mean, this is a perfect example in this article. 18 months later, they're asking for 3 times what they should have billed prior. And I see a lot of that. I see a lot of people say, hey, I'm getting all these bills. What's going on? Well, you've got to look at that explanation of benefits, really dive into that. And the more I dive into these articles on the show, more than likely I'm going to try to have a workshop, maybe every quarter or monthly, to really dial in what individuals need to do to stay in tune with their explanation of benefits on their health insurance. Um, let's see here. Let's dive in a little bit more. It seems to be accelerating. We're seeing more and more communities where this is happening, where basically billing statements are getting increased over time. Just a news alert. Make sure you double check your explanation of benefits, and if you're getting one for a past service for a higher amount, you can reference that older explanation of benefits that you might have received to counter that or argue that. Another article that is from last month, but I thought it was important to remind everybody. And this is actually here locally, San Antonio Current. Texas families have among the largest share of their incomes to pay among the largest share of their incomes to cover health premiums and deductibles. I am absolutely seeing that right now. Texas families spend an average of 10.9% of their household income on premiums and deductibles. Okay. That number would likely drop if the state took on Medicaid expansion. So let's talk about Medicaid expansion. So Medicaid is state and federal funded health insurance or health care. In the state of Texas, the only way you can really qualify for that is if you're a pregnant woman and meet the income requirements there. If you're a child and meet the income requirements for the family for that, or maybe an elderly adult, and I'm talking 65 and over. Maybe if you've got a disability where you could leverage that as well, because you that disability got you dialed in with Medicare. But in most cases, the Medicaid opportunity is only for that segment. And I will tell you, I'm surprised they haven't opened up Medicaid for adults because I run across a lot of individuals that need that help. They can't work anymore. They're in a real bad spot. They're not in bad enough shape where they qualify for disability yet, or maybe in the future, but they need health coverage and care. And I think those people should be getting a Medicaid qualification off of that. There's a lot of people that don't need that, but I do see a lot of people that do. And I'm hoping we'll see some changes in Medicaid reform. I'm not going to hold my breath. There's a lot of chaos going out there in the industry, specifically Medicaid and Medicare that we're trying to navigate around, and hopefully I'll have another update for you on that next month. But, the Medicaid could help a lot of people in Texas, and we're one of the few those states that just did not expand Medicaid to adults. If the money's there, the funding's there, I think it's great. I don't think it should be blanket for everybody, but I do think that there's a lot of individuals that could benefit from that. Let's keep on going on this article. The average employee contribution in Texas is $6,851 for family coverage, and the average deductible is 4,176. I think that's a little light. I think that's a lower number. I think it's higher than that. But again, these are numbers that just came out after the open enrollment had ended for individual health insurance. Texas is one of 19 states where the premium contributions and deductibles for employer sponsored health insurance plans consume 10% or more of families' median household incomes, according to this study. The Lone Star State employees and their families spend, on average, 10.9% on their household income, and the cost of those premiums and deductibles for health care, despite it having an equity advocate, is pretty staggering. The figure doesn't even include the additional costs such as planned copays. So there's more on top of that that's going to stack. Like I said, I thought those numbers were a little low on that cost. To get its results, the nonprofit looked at the most recent available national data. And here's the deal, they're looking at data at 2024. Okay. That's important to bring up on this article. And I'm glad I'm catching this while I'm bringing this up because they're basing this off of 2024 stats. We're 2 years deep already from there, and we're seeing astronomical price increases on the health insurance. So the average employee contribution back then, and that's the number I just brought up a minute ago, 68.51 for family coverage, and the average deductible 41.76. There's no question that's higher now into 2026. So that's a problem, and it's affecting a lot of families, and we got to make sure we're in tune and analyzing and see if there's other affordable options out there. And by the way, we do have some affordable health coverage options for families that just don't want to pay these exorbitant premiums. Here's the catch: you got to be healthy. It's going to be a sickness and accident coverage plan. It's going to have a wellness benefit on there as well, but it has become a more affordable option. The catch is you got to be insurable. If you're uninsurable or you've got some pre-existing conditions, typically group sponsored health insurance, Medicare if you're in that bracket, or ACA individual health insurance plans, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare Marketplace, whatever you want to call it, is typically where you're going to have the pre-existing conditions not be in play for your condition. More than 60% of working age adults under age 65, about 167 million people, get their health insurance through employer or family member's employer, and those people face rapidly rising premiums and deductibles according to the data. Um, we're starting to get some of our mid-year renewals for some of our group clients, and we're seeing 20, 30% on some of these. I don't think seen anything less right now. We don't have as many renewals mid-year as we do at the tail end of the year or the fall, but we are no doubt seeing increases, and rightfully so. Some of the group clients and even our prospects that aren't our clients now or yet are reaching out and say, "Hey, what can we do to curb this? What can we do to offset this?" I think we saw a 60% increase as well, and that is really tough to swallow, especially if you had double digit price increases the past year or prior years accordingly. And what's happening is that's squeezing these employers that are wanting to help subsidize and help cover the cost of the health insurance for the employees, but there's only so much they can do. I'm sure there's some great profitable companies out there that are very generous on their employee benefits plans, but at some point something's got to give. And I think I got another article on that we're going to discuss on that tune as well. But healthcare costs in 2026 are projected to grow at a faster pace than in recent years. So I'm getting ahead of myself on the article. That is no doubt true. We've seen that firsthand with the coverage and options that we've been helping everybody basically try to enroll into. So the San Antonio Current basically trying to get some awareness on this. For example, one reason health insurance rates are so high, Texas, is that Texas is just one of 10 states. I mentioned this. It's a handful of states that hasn't accepted federal Medicaid expansion. Okay, so I think if there's some Medicaid reform for the state of Texas, then we could see some adjustments or some stuff offset there. Also, when hospitals are put in a position of providing uncompensated care, that's getting passed on to consumers as well. Okay, there's a lot of hospital costs out there that people are getting treated, and that cost has to get recouped somewhere. It isn't just made up or written off. It's got to come from somewhere, and a complex set of circumstances factor into the insurance rates based on that. So I don't see any relief coming as far as individual health insurance costs right now. I think the more stable of the industry is the Medicare right now. I say that depending on what if you're on original Medicare with a supplement versus a Medicare Advantage plan. But we are doing our best to educate our clients, educate our audience on all the changes that are coming currently right now, the stuff that we've just engaged with these open enrollments, as well as what we're preparing for, bracing for this coming up fall. Let's keep on going. There is a governor, Reynolds, signed health insurance premium tax increase into law. Okay, this is actually where is this? Governor Reynolds signed into law an increase on health insurance, health maintenance organizations or HMOs, which aims to fill the state's Medicaid budget shortfall. So I just brought up a minute ago that Texas is one of 10 states that does not expand Medicaid. And I have a feeling this is one of the reasons why. Because in the state of Iowa, they're having to bring in a tax law to help cover the cost of the Medicaid for the Iowans, basically is what they call them. The governor signed House File 2739 into law Thursday, according to a new release. And this was actually from February that this article came up. Actually, it was signed in February, but the article's coming out in 2026. The governor signed this law Thursday, according to the new release. The law will retroactively raise the premium tax of HMOs, a type of Medicaid Advantage plan offered by private companies, from a rate of 0.925% to 3.5 between January 1st and September 30th of 2026, beginning in October. This article that I'm bringing up is just showing the dynamic that's going on in the health insurance industry. Okay, for the state of Iowa to have to put into a law that increases the HMO costs for their Medicaid, that's a problem, and that could be why the state of Texas is not wanting to expand Medicaid, because why would we expand it when we can't afford it or keep up with the cost? In addition to the tax hike, the measure also moves 89 million from the state's general fund to the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services for the state's Medicaid program to address fiscal year 2026 shortfall. It will also transfer almost 350 million from Ohio's taxpayer relief fund to make up for the revenue lost. So this isn't in Texas. This is another state, um, and it's just I think it's important to look at what other states are going through, and rush being the state of Texas really be cautious on what they try to expand and not expand. And this is why I brought up a minute ago that I think there needs to be some reform in Medicaid in the state of Texas, just maybe stricter requirements or standards for those adults that really need it. Okay, because I absolutely see individuals that just cannot afford their Affordable Care Act insurance. And here's the deal on that: there's cliffs, and these cliffs are if you make if you don't make enough money, you don't qualify for affordable insurance. If you make too much money, you don't qualify for affordable insurance. So you've got these gaps or these cliffs, and one of the toughest ones to help our clients navigate around is the fact that if they don't make enough to qualify for affordable coverage. Because I will never forget my very first health insurance prospect came into my San Antonio office with his mother as well, and they were ready for their free health insurance, their free Obamacare, and they had a rude awakening when I had to explain to them and say, "No, it was probably maybe $12,000 a year minimum income. I've got to look at that because it was over a decade ago." But this individual just thought they were going to get free health insurance. We're like, no, it doesn't work that way. You've got to earn enough income to qualify for a threshold for that. And they were floored, or at least he was floored. The mother wasn't too surprised, but that was a very interesting visit that I had at the office, and definitely broke me in right off the bat to start engaging this health insurance industry, specifically the individual health. But they just thought it was going to be free, and that obviously was not the case off of that as well. Let's keep on diving into some articles. There's some good stuff out here. So I'm glad we're diving in to a lot of the news that I'm seeing. But that last article, wow. I mean, Iowa having to put into tax law to cover their healthcare costs and the Medicaid shortfall, that's a little scary. And I'm hoping Texas will take a look at those scenarios and make sure that we're in a good spot and not having to worry about the the costs increasing for their health insurance costs. So another article that I came over to is New York gets okay to end health coverage for 460,000 due to federal cuts. Let's repeat that. New York gets okay to end health coverage for 400, almost half a million people due to federal cuts. So this is going on in New York. Again, not Texas, but we're looking at these situations come up around the country. We have to make sure we're prepared for disruptions here in the state of Texas. So let's dive into this a little bit. This is a low HUD article from their New York State team. It was sent out March 24th of this year, so just a few days ago. New York has gotten permission to undo a health insurance expansion in response to federal funding cuts, a move that will end nearly free health care for 460,000 people, low income New Yorkers, as of July 1. That is going to be a headwind. Okay. You've got a half a million people that were used to having no cost health care and insurance, and now that's going away. That's a problem. The state opted to absorb the cuts, um, by rolling back eligibility for its essential plan, a federally funded program that provides coverage with no premiums and some copays for almost 1.7 million New Yorkers. Enrollment had jumped after state officials raised the income cutoff in 2024. So now they're restoring the original limit, which will disqualify those who earn more. Kathy Hochul announced the Trump administration final approval for that change on March 20th, blaming federal cuts for the reversal, while saying it will protect care for 1.3 million people still enrolled in that essential plan. That is another scary article that we're discussing today on the show about what's going on in other states. So Iowa increasing their taxes to cover healthcare costs and Medicaid costs. You've got New York that's basically ending coverage for 500,000 people, probably going to be more than that due to the federal cuts. Definitely a disruption coming with that. Now, something I wanted to dive into, I wanted to go over to the Kaiser Foundation. Really like what they put out there. They're a nonprofit, California based. They put some great information out there, and I wanted to talk about some of the things that they're bringing up. This is an article or some details they brought up. Looks like yesterday. Why are people turning to AI for health information? Their latest poll shows while most say they wanted a quick, immediate advice, 1 in 5 say healthcare affordability or access concerns are major reasons, including larger shares of young and lower income adults. So let's take a look at this. 1 in 5 who use AI for health for their health say affordability or access concerns are the major reasons, including larger shares of young and lower adults. So younger and lower income adults are much more likely to cite not being able to access or afford health care as the reason they turn to AI for their health advice. Now, listen, everybody would go to Google basically to, um, assess or get a diagnosis on what they think they might have. Probably created quite a bit of hypochondriacs out there. But at the same time, that's where a lot of people are going. Well, AI is going to be that tool where a lot of people are going to seek their medical advice. Um, the percent say that the following was a major reason they used AI tool or a chatbot for health insurance information. I'm going to talk about these stats. I'll try to put a screenshot on the show if I can, but they've got it in 2 segments. They cannot afford the cost of seeing a provider. They don't have regular healthcare provider or couldn't get the appointment. And these were double digits on the increase of that usage off of that. So I'm not going to bore you with that stat, but I think that's interesting to bring up and talk about that AI is no doubt going to be where you get advice. Listen, we're a local insurance brokerage here in town, and everything's kind of been, Google. We get a lot of word of mouth referrals. So a lot of people refer us to say, hey, Justin takes care of us here and their team. I would utilize them. But AI is going to be where we probably get a lot of our referrals in business in the future. I don't think it's just going to be Google. I think people are going to go to these chatbots, and we got to make sure we're relevant on that. And we're actually working on that. I had a visit with a company yesterday to help us with that. So just know if it relates to your industry, I'm in the insurance business. If you need to make sure that your company is relevant to these AI chatbots where people are seeking advice from, they need to know where you're at and where to find you. I've got a good reference on that if you need some help on assessing that. I was pretty impressed with the company I visited with yesterday. Another thing that Kaiser came out with is the struggles of enrollees in the ACA marketplace are having paying their health care while continue bringing attention to the healthcare affordability throughout the year. Basically, they brought up about 8 in 10 independent voters now say healthcare costs will impact their interest in voting and the party they vote for. I'm glad we're talking about this right now because I am actively trying to get some legislatures or potential legislatures on the show to get their take and stance on healthcare legislation. This is a perfect example of hopefully why you'll see them on our show coming up, because 8 in 10 independent voters now say healthcare costs will impact their interest in voting and the party they vote for. More than 4 in 10 independent voters say it will have a major impact on their vote. Okay. We got a lot of going on around the world. Okay. We've got wars, we've got, the thing in Venezuela, you got China, you got stuff in Europe. I mean, it just seems like it's just been nonstop. But I think based on this article, people are saying, hey, I need to put my oxygen mask on, so to speak, before we worry about everybody else. So I think this is going to be an important topic for legislatures. Now, we're not voting just yet, although I'm sure there's some elections going on. But coming into this fall, this will be heated. This will be addressed, and we're going to be very vocal on healthcare legislation and the changes that we think that need to be changed and addressed yesterday. So I'm glad I got into this article. I'm going to send this to some of the congressional candidates or people that are currently in Congress now for our listening area, and see if they can stop by and talk about this. And then obviously we'll record it on the show and get it out to you on the airwaves and on the online podcast. Um, let's go a little bit more on Kaiser Foundation. They got some good stuff here that they're showing. Following the expiration of the enhanced premium tax credits at the end of 2025, many Americans enrolled in the ACA faced higher costs. We just brought that up a minute ago. This is actually an article on the um, the same thing that I just brought up a minute ago. I apologize. Um, Another polling that they brought out was using AI for health insurance information. That is becoming popular. So that is just one more article that I'm coming on as well. Um, Medicaid spending on prescription drugs in both state and federal policy focus. I just brought up Medicaid being a major issue for other states. Net spending on prescription drugs grew by 46% in fiscal year 2019 and fiscal year 2024, similar to the period's overall Medicaid spending growth of 52%. So, despite in net Medicaid spending on prescription drugs, drug spending continues to account for relatively a small share of the Medicaid spending. That's an interesting stat. I would not think that, knowing what other people are having to pay for their medications that don't qualify for Medicaid or outside of Medicaid. So that's a good thing. Hopefully those stats stick on that, and I'm sure Texas is taking a look at that as well. So that's the Kaiser Foundation on some of their articles that they've got going on. This is another article that I want to bring up that I came across as well. And again, I think I'm just going to talk about all the news that's out there in our industry, specifically to health insurance. But this one came up, and I wanted to talk about it. CMS is considering automatic enrollment into Medicare Advantage plans. Okay, this is the idea is part of a conservative project for 2025 policy. So this is an article on healthcare finance. It was March 24th of this year, so just a few days ago. And let's dive into this. I think this is something we need to talk about because if you're a listener on here and you're Medicare eligible, you might be on a Medicare Advantage plan. Um, or maybe, I guess, maybe not necessarily that. It's for this individuals that are maybe not aged into Medicare yet or left their employer sponsored coverage to go Medicare. Um, they are looking at automatically enrolling people. That's going to be interesting because that bypasses us as an agent broker. If the government's going to say, hey, we're going to put you in this insurance plan and you're just going to have to live with it. Hopefully that's not the case. But the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is considering a policy to automatically enroll seniors in a Medicare Advantage plan. And if you're not familiar with the options on Medicare, reach out to us. We'll help you with that. But we'll dial into that, and I'll give you my phone number and website again here in just a minute. But let's keep on going on this article. Chris Klump, Director of Medicare and Deputy Administrator of CMS, told STAT, his team, mulling the feasibility of models that would either automatically enroll beneficiaries into a private Medicare Advantage plan, an accountable care organization that participates in Medicare savings programs and similar programs. Klump said either choice would be better than enrolling the beneficiary in a fee for service arrangement, which is Medicare. Individuals could still opt into a different insurance arrangement. Okay, great. So even if they're trying to be proactive with an automatic enrollment into a Medicare Advantage plan, it looks like they're still going to give you, the Medicare eligible, the consumer, the ability to opt out. It says that in the article. We still need to see if that will be the case, because a lot of times CMS will come out with something and it surprises us or takes by surprise the broker community, the agent community, and even our consumers and clients um, when things are disrupted and changed. Currently, Original Medicare is the default option for seniors who don't make a choice. So, over half of seniors enrolled in a Medicare plan choose a Medicare Advantage plan. That's true. Moving to an MA as the default option is part of the Conservative Project 2025 policy blueprint, which was made other recommendations that Health and Human Services has initiated, such as Medicaid work requirements. So, they are making some big changes with CMS and Health and Human Services. It's referencing what they did prior, and this was last year. They were basically saying, okay, if you're going to qualify for Medicaid, which is state and federally funded, you're going to have to meet requirements. Okay, we understand that you need help with insurance, but you gotta work if you can. If you can't work, then hey, you might be on disability, or maybe if you can't work, there's another reason for that. But that was going to be linked to the Medicaid, and these are some sweeping changes that they're looking to possibly do. Let's see here. They've got other policy recommendations, including giving beneficiaries direct control on how they spend Medicare dollars, removing policies that micromanage MA plans, replacing the based payment model with a competitive bidding model, reconfiguring the current risk adjustment model, and removing restrictions of key benefits and services, including those related to prescription drugs, hospice care, and a medical savings account plan. So they are looking at some big changes here. And this is on the heels where, I've been talking about this almost every week, where Medicare carriers, health insurance carriers that offer Medicare plans are, scaling back some benefits. Some of them are pulling out of areas altogether. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, in which Medicare companies that are offering Medicare Advantage would be approved by CMS or get these automatic enrollment contracts. Um, you know, United Healthcare has been in the news. They got a lot of stuff going on. I think there were multiple carriers that are getting sued and having to pay fines. So it'll be interesting to see who makes the cut on if this automatic Medicare Advantage enrollment for seniors or those aging into Medicare are going to have to encounter. Medicare Advantage is a value-based program in which they pay unrelated, uh, pay is unrelated to the volume of services. However, the program has been found to cost the federal government more than original Medicare. Okay. Also, Medicare Advantage insurers have been struggling in the past year to meet financial challenges for higher medical utilization and spending. So, I want to talk about which I encountered this week. We help out people with a lot of Medicare Advantage plans. Okay, we do. But we also help people out with keeping original Medicare A and B and getting a separate medical supplement that will allow them to see any doctor that accepts Medicare. They won't need a referral, to go to a specialist that they want to see. They have the peace of mind with that, and it's a Plan G in most cases. Now, there's a Plan G high deductible plan that's becoming more popular. We probably helped 5 people out with that plan this week alone. And for a lower premium cost um, and a little bit more exposure on their deductible, it's about 29.50, I believe. So you've got a deductible that needs to be met. But if you're relatively healthy or you have those funds available, God forbid something serious comes up, you can have that peace of mind of a lower Medicare supplement premium and keep original Medicare with your supplement. Now, Sometimes the Medicare Advantage plans have a little bit stronger prescription drug coverage, or the consumer's completely fine, needing referrals as long as their doctors are in the Medicare Advantage network with that managed care. But I will tell you, this week we helped out a lot of people that were basically becoming eligible for Medicare, and before they jumped the gun on going a Medicare Advantage plan, they decided to go with a high deductible Plan G medical supplement. Okay. And by the way, we make less money on those as agent brokers, but we have to show every option out there that you have. Medicare Advantage, I'm just going to say it, a lot of people lead with that and don't necessarily show, a complete option of all the Medicare that they should out there. We try to make sure we make sure every client sees, hey, here's option one for Medicare and here's option two. So, man, that's an interesting article there to wrap up the show with. CMS considering enrollment in a Medicare Advantage plan and automatically enrolling those eligible. So, you know, you're gonna want to reach out to an agent broker. I hope we are your agent broker of choice. Remember, this is the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. Everything insurance is what we talk about on the show. And sometimes we have guests, special guests from carriers, local providers. And hopefully, after that last article, I talked about, what the voters are looking for in health insurance. I'm going to have some congressional candidates here join us. And hopefully, we'll be able to size them up and see what their thinking is if they get into office that's going to affect your pocketbook. And it's absolutely affecting millions of people on their cost of health insurance. And I think it's important to bring that up and talk about. So we'll try to bring that value and that awareness to everybody that's listening to the show. But if you're needing help with your individual health insurance or maybe your Medicare plans, if you're needing to shop those or take a look at that, as well as employee benefits for your employees, we'd love to help you out. We'd love to do an assessment. You can reach out to us at Texas State Insurance Services. The phone number is 210-880-5316, or you can visit us online at txstateinsurance.com. If you're listening to the show and you're like, hey, Justin, I'm good on my health insurance, but we do need to take a look at our commercial insurance lines or our personal insurance. Can you take a look at that? We absolutely can. Remember, Palmetto Life Group, 877-357-5316, or go to palmettolifegroup.com. That's where you can complete a contact form, reach out to us, and we'll talk about life insurance, long term care, social security analysis, as well as the auto, home, and the commercial lines of business. So we have two separate agencies there. Actually, had a phone call from a potential client over the weekend, and we're reaching out to schedule a time to visit with them here soon regarding their commercial lines. And then we're also probably going to need to look at their health insurance as well. So I can't thank the listeners enough online that are choosing to tune into KTSA 550 on their Saturday evening and listen to the show. And hopefully we provided some value regarding these news articles, this news, these alerts that are coming up on how it relates to the insurance industry. We spent a lot of time talking about health insurance, but that's a big topic right now. And that's why it's important for us to bring that awareness to you, the consumer and the listener, here on the radio show or listening to us on the online podcast. I got to plug our YouTube channel again one more time. If you can, please go to our YouTube channel. You can go to youtube.com/at Mad Insurance Show to visit the YouTube channel. And hopefully we'll get over 10 likes or 10 more subscribers. This is just starting out, guys. We're trying to build this up. So any awareness or support we get from the listening audience, we truly appreciate. And hopefully the show provided some great value to everybody. You can reach us at 210-880-5316 or visit us online at txstateinsurance.com with any questions, or if you want to talk about more some of the news articles or the details that we brought up during the show. Thanks again, everybody. Y'all have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Take care.